All right, let's stay in the SEC and let's talk about Brian Kelly. Okay, so for Brian Kelly, it's very similar, at least in my mind, to James Franklin, which means it's time. It's time. Year 4 for Brian Kelly, rough start to the tenure, right? Like, you remember the accent. Remember, he debuted that Southern accent so well. We had the bad recruiting video with him dancing. Yeah, and then you look up and it's like, okay, but they've had 2 10-win seasons. In most places, 10-win seasons get people off of your back. They've had a 9-win season, but here's the difference. Expectations are sky high at LSU. Every coach this century has won a national championship at LSU. What makes it's why Brian Kelly went to LSU. He didn't go down there to build South Bend South. You know, he went specifically because he felt like this program, this location, was going to give him a better chance to win a national championship. And look at every coach that has coached at LSU this century. Nick Saban won a national championship. Les Miles won a national championship. Ed Orgeron won a national championship. They gave him a big fat contract. Kelly needs a great start to the season, and that's exactly where the pressure point is. It's time. Week 1 at Clemson. The opener at Clemson is the moment for Brian Kelly. He can't lose that game. And that's an incredibly tough game. I actually think Clemson's a little bit better than LSU. So now we're expecting him to take a team on the road and go beat Dabo Swinney, who's won a national championship, and Cade Klubnik, who has played a lot of football and just went to the college football playoff. And he's got to win that game. If he doesn't, look up at the rest of the schedule. The rest of the schedule becomes so much more daunting. Okay? The Clemson game is really the crux of the argument because now you look up and you still have Florida, that one at home. You still have to go to Ole Miss. You still have to play Lenore Sellers in South Carolina. You still have to play Texas A&M. You still have to go on the road and go to Alabama. You still have to go to on the road and play in Norman. So the Clemson games becomes massively important. Plus, we all think that Clemson's going to be the class of the ACC. If they're, in fact, the ACC champion and you could notch a win in their building, what would that do to your playoff resume? It would be pretty good. It would be pretty good. That's why this is such an important game. Now, imagine for a moment he loses that opener. While it's a really good team and they're on the road and it's early and you can say all the things about like, hey, you know what? It's fine. I just don't know if there's going to be enough margin with those 6 games that I threw up on the board. The SEC is incredibly deep. They haven't had the national championships in the last couple of years, but that doesn't mean that they're any less deep. Those are tough games. They'd have to go 6-2 minimum just to be a 9-3 team and potentially make the playoff. And those are really tough to go 6-2 through that. So it's time for Brian Kelly, and that time is going to come right off the bat. Season opener on the road at Clemson. All right, let's go to Tennessee. Josh Hypel. I didn't really want to put Hypel on the pressure index. But then I got to tell you, didn't love the whole Nico Iamaleava saga. So where do we sit, Tennessee fans, with Josh Hypel? I think it's we like you, but some really good years with Josh Hypel. Some marquee failures under Josh Hypel. It does not help that they lost their quarterback. And I'm sorry, but there's just more to the story than the Tennessee faithful want to throw out there. They ran out there and ran Nico Iamaleava under the bus. Now, I'm not saying Iamaleava and his family didn't share in some of the blame for how the relationship went south, but it wasn't all that happened. And so it's like, hey, we like you, but we don't have a quarterback anymore. And what are we doing? I think that they should be, Tennessee fans, I think that they're mostly happy with the Hypel era, especially after coming off their first playoff appearance last year, but then they ran out there with their shirts off like a whatever, and then they got ran out of the building. They take a stand, which most of the fan base enjoyed, liked, backed, with Nico and his family, but it comes apart, and now you've got to deliver without him against a schedule that's pretty difficult. I think that comes to a fruition. Oklahoma on November 1st. So here's how I entered this. Is I want to also talk about a couple of games before this that I thought about. So let's look at Tennessee. At Alabama, October 18th. You could say like, oh no, that's the pressure game. But is it? Is it really? After losing Nico, Tennessee fan base, do you really think you're just going to roll into Tuscaloosa and win? Then I thought to myself like, no, Kentucky's the one. Kentucky's the pressure game because Kentucky's the one that you just can't lose to. And it's on the road. That would have been easy. But you know the game that it really is? It's Oklahoma. That's the game. That's the moment that the pressure comes to fruition for Josh Hypel. I think they really should be 5-1. I'm going to give them the win at Kentucky going into the second half of the year. I think that they're going to lose to Georgia. The 5-1 going into this stretch, meaning second half of the schedule is much tougher. So then, like, let's say they lose to Alabama, then they're 5-2. Let's say they win, now they're 6-2. Now you've got OU, and it's like you're either a 6-3 team or you're a 7-win team moving forward. And you've got this idea that OU wants to take your spot in the conference. Remember now, hierarchy of the conference is going to be so important as we move forward. You do not want to lose ground. You don't want to lose ground. In particular, in this day and age of narrative and recruiting and transfer portal, you don't want to be seen as the team that's slipping. You want to be seen as the team that's rising. And OU wants to get where Tennessee is. So this hierarchy of conference, OU is the one that's trying to get there. And you can't lose that game. It's also at home. It's also at home. And if Tennessee fans all of a sudden witness their third loss at home to OU, and they're like, hold on, I thought we were past this OU type of stuff. Now, what are we going to do at Florida? You know, it becomes much more difficult to look at the rest of that schedule and think to yourself like, okay, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? That game is where the pressure ratchets up for Josh Hypel. So we like you, but you better beat Oklahoma at home. Let's move on. Bill Belichick, North Carolina. This one's an interesting one and an easy one for now. We're just happy you're here. We're just happy you're here. And this is going to be a little bit different than the rest of the coaches on this one because I think that the pressure index is not actually on Bill Belichick. Let's be honest. Like, Bill Belichick is not going to feel a lot of pressure at North Carolina. If this doesn't go his way, he doesn't seem like a guy that like is going to lose a lot of sleep over this. But the pressure index is more so on the fan base because you can tell that the fan base, not all that dissimilar to Colorado, is kind of like invested in this. It's like, oh my gosh, we went way outside of the box and we hired the GOAT, the greatest NFL coach maybe in history. And we brought him here to coach college football at North Carolina. So we're just happy he's here. And so guess where the pressure gets ratcheted up? Not in their schedule, but in the Giants' schedule, the New York Giants. Because the Giants very well could be a really bad team. Belichick can absolutely pay the $1 million to get out of his contract. So if he all of a sudden has an opportunity to go back to the NFL and go back and coach the New York Giants, where he has a history. Now, granted, there were some hard feelings here and there. We all watched the 30 for 30 on the Bills, the two Bills. I'm going to go with December 1st. The Giants at Patriots. Last game before the Giants bye. It's against the Patriots. So here's their last five. Or excuse me, here's the five before the bye week. Sorry. So you've got San Francisco, Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, and then New England. So let's just say, sake of argument, what if the Giants are like 2-11 at that point? Do you think Dayball is getting fired? Probably. Right at the end of the college football season, right in a bye week for the Giants, that's where the pressure is ratcheted up. So we're happy you're here. But guess what? The fan base is going to feel an immense amount of pressure in that bye week after potentially a Monday night victory for the New England Patriots. over the New York Giants. That's the one. That's the pressure game. So we're happy you're here, but we hope you're here after December 1st. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.